Last but not least, we come to air. And air increases air, herbs of the air increase air, and they check water. So remember that air is drying, water is damp. So air comes in and dries up when there's too much water, when we become bogged down, when things are swampy, when we're drowning, right? But they'll also build up air when there's not enough air. These herbs tend to be sour, sometimes bitter. They're oftentimes nootropics, so the herbs that create plasticity in the brain. They help us learn new things, create new patterns in the mind, get out of old patterns, out of old habits and ruts. These are the herbs that influence our respiratory system, our respiratory tonics, or our pectorals, as we say in herbalism. They are nervines. They're the herbs that work on our nervous system, right? Remember that air is the seat of anxiety. So this makes sense. They are our herbs that are sedative, that calm and quiet, sedate. They have an affinity with the nervous system and the brain, the respiratory, and all of the senses. The senses as a group, that ability to receive communication from the world around us through any of our 6 senses. And they are generally very drying. So that is something to be mindful of. A few of them, a few of my faves, yarrow. Yarrow is shown in the picture there. This is a white yarrow, and it's beautiful, beautiful plant, very drying. Yarrow is in the Umbrelaceae family, looks like an umbrella, kind of symbolizes reaching out into all directions like air, kind of like an umbrella or a parachute, if you will. Very airy construction of this plant. The leaves are filigree, they look lacy, they're very airy. Yarrow staunches bleeding, so it will dry up a place where you're bleeding so that the body can start knitting the wound. It opens the mind, it opens the pores so that we can kind of move stuff out of the body and create some dryness within. We use the medicine of yarrow. We work with yarrow when we need to dry people out for one reason or another, and sweating out that excess dampness, checking the water, is the path of least resistance, the easiest thing for the body to do. Fennel. If you've ever seen a fennel plant, it is no stretch of the imagination why fennel is related to air. They look like fireworks bursting. They're very airy and wispy, and when the wind blows, they're kind of all over the place, and they're tall and slender like air people. So fennel root is actually earthy, but the fennel seed, which grows up in the flowers, is the aerial part we're talking about, airy. The fennel seed opens up the mind, dries out the digestive system. So when the belly is too boggy, there's a phlegm buildup, there's too much liquid and the food can't digest. We bring in fennel with a little ginger, a little chamomile, perfect. Elderflower, also very airy, one of my favorite allies to work with, opens up the pores without the heat. So this is a cool air example, very cleansing, very connecting to a lot of the internal communication systems of the body. Ginkgo, our famous brain ally, right? Everybody knows ginkgo for the brain. So we want to bring ginkgo medicine in when the brain has become foggy, fuzzy, stagnant, the memory's not so great, the word recall's not so great, or we're just feeling like we're not getting as much flow of blood and oxygen up into the brain. The brain's feeling tired. We bring ginkgo in. Now, if you've never seen ginkgo, the leaves actually, ginkgo biloba, ginkgo 2 lobes, look like brain, and they're incredible. This is incredible air medicine. Common sage, this is garden sage, Salvia officinalis, very drying, very increasing of the air energy. Will dry the system out, dry the lungs out when they're bogged down with too much water. You know, lots of phlegm, lots of mucus in the lungs, the respiratory system. Sage is our go-to for that. We also work with sage a lot for boggy skin conditions where the skin is kind of taking on a lot of dampness. It's weepy. Last but not least, Camellia sinensis, which is more commonly known as green tea. All the teas, green tea, black tea, white tea, oolong, pu'er, They all come from the same plant, Camellia sinensis. This is a stimulating, nerve activating, drying, upward moving herb. This is why people like to drink green tea, right? It gets us stimulated, wakes our nerves up, gets the wind moving inside of us, and really opens up the mind. So Camellia sinensis, and fantastic ally. Formats of air, incense, of course, smoldering herbs, filling the literal atmosphere with smoke that we are inhaling with our breath. This is very much true herbal medicine, to smolder a little bit of an herb that's appropriate for burning. Please don't smolder ginger or cayenne. You'll be really miserable if you do that. But a lot of these herbs, the yarrow, the elder, sage, sprinkled on a little charcoal or burned, bring the air energy into a space. And then you absorb that smoke through your skin, and you breathe a little bit in through your lungs, and it's in the form of air. So this is penultimate air energy. And of course, smoking blends for folks who like to work with herbs through inhalation, through smoking them. Not all herbs are safe to smoke, but a lot of them are. And it is a lovely way to bring plant medicine into the body on the breath, which is ruled by the element of air. So some of our states, breath work, right? Mindful breathing, anywhere from finding guided breathwork videos on YouTube to going and working with breathwork specialists to deepen the breath, to make the breath more expansive. Very powerful way to change our relationship with air. Singing, get in the car, get in the shower, belt it out. It's very therapeutic. Music in general is all really ruled by air, because sound travels across space, travels across the air with air vibration. So playing a musical instrument, listening to music, dry brushing, again, is going to increase air. So if you're finding a lot of bogginess, stagnation in the lymphatic system, the skin feels, you feel like you're taking on water retention, that dry brushing is going to dry you out. It's going to move air around and kind of sop up some of that. So not applicable, not a good choice for people who are very airy, like yours truly. Would dry me out too much. Folks that are trying to check water, fantastic. And exposure to wind, going into places where you can stand and let the wind blow through your hair and blow through your fingers and rustle your clothes, and really just lean into how that feels, to be in such an airy state. So just before we wrap here, I want to give you this little graphic, again, reminding us that it is all about harmony. I need to get my own chat box out of the way. It's all about harmony in relationships. This is all about making sure that we are friends with all of the elements, so that when we need them to rise up and speak, when we get a cold and our lungs are filled with phlegm, that we're in a relationship with air that allows that energy to come through and heal us, that when we're feeling angry, that we're harmonized with earth and we can go cool down and ground out that anger. When we're feeling like our emotions are getting the best of us and we're not thinking clearly, we can call in the air and allow that air medicine to move through us. So we really want to have a good relationship, a good working relationship with all four elements, while recognizing we will always have one or two of them be dominant in our physical form and in our personality, sometimes different, sometimes the same. There's no rule here. Some people have a very earthy personality and a very fiery body. Totally okay. You are who you are. So this little compass we use a lot in our tradition of herbalism to not only talk about, again, that earth and fire are opposite each other. So earth energy checks fire, fire checks earth, and water and air are opposite each other. But also that each element feeds the one after it. That fire, a healthy relationship with fire leads to a better connection to water. Good water, good earth, good air, good fire, right? And we can sit and meditate on this and figure out intuitively why that is, which I will leave you to your own journeys. But thinking in terms of how the elements relate to one another, and maybe it's not always as simple as just looking across the compass that, earth always checks fire. It's also about being in enough relationship that we can let another element speak up and say, I really feel like I need to be in the water right now. And I don't necessarily know why, but water, a bath, going swimming, being in the ocean, like that feels like what I need. And being able to investigate that for yourself is a really powerful thing, a really beautiful thing. And knowing how you can turn to each of the elements when you crave the hot, the cold, the wet, the dry, the different expressions and energetics that we have talked about today.